Hello, this is part two of a culture of breaking generational curses. I was talking about all these like societal norms, destructive cultural norms that we have to grapple with, especially like if you're an empath, if you're an empath, if you're on this planet because your job is to confront the things that are making life on earth for human beings on a spiritual level untenable, you're going to deal with these. And probably chances are you are that person in your family that saw these things and were like, what the hell is this? Why do we behave like this? Did y'all know that Auntie Spun Bunny is getting beaten up by her husband? Did you know that that one over there was abused by that relative when he was or she was that age? Are you wondering now why they're a drug addict? Stop acting like the drugs that they're taking are the problem. Their problem is the emotional pain that all of you have expected that person to pretend doesn't exist because of what happened. You end up becoming, the black sheep of the family. And if your family is toxic enough, they'll actually make you the scapegoat. So they'll start to project all the crazy stuff that they do to each other onto you so that you are silenced. Yeah. Because people don't want to deal with these things. They're established cultural norms. And the thing is, unfortunately, there are some people who benefit. And it's the perpetuators of sexism, racism, classism, ableism, religious intolerance, cultural supremacy, and all these other negative things, economic exploitation. It's the people who benefit from perpetuating these behaviors, these norms, who will seek to silence you, who will seek to make you the problem, you know. And things like patriarchy, something like patriarchy, it's like society is made to believe that this is just the way humans are. And they'll be like, look at the lion. The lion is the head of the pride. If you look at a lion pride, the beings that run that pride are the females. The lion is obedient to the female. So lions are actually matriarchal. They're not patriarchal. But anyway, we're not lions. We're human beings, and as humans, we are supposed to have a higher level of consciousness than the animals. Yes, we are animals. These bodies are mammalian bodies. We're mammals, so we're animals. But our consciousness is supposed to be such that we operate at a higher level than the animals. We're able to think long term, for example. I think elephants can also think long term, and some whales. So, okay, I don't want to get murky about these things. But anyway, the point is, as human beings, we are supposed to be operating in a level which mirrors the divinity of the creator. Okay? And all the philosophers from all over the world tell you this. This is what humans beings are supposed to be, right? So we should, and I think it's exactly this consciousness which causes humans to say, wait a minute, this is wrong. Why are we behaving like this? Why are we allowing, for example, patriarchy, which is an expression of sexism, to be a normal thing in our society, which then says that men are superior to women and that women should seek to be subservient to men, you know? So if you look at it, and for me, this is where the problem lies, is that it's saying that your ego expression should determine the quality of the experience of your soul in your incarnation, right? And I think this is where it becomes difficult to self-actualize, to reach that high point in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know what I'm saying? Where you self-actualize and you see yourself as consciousness, because your consciousness is being so subsumed to the needs of your ego, okay, because of these generational curses, these cultural norms that we have been taught to accept as normal, right? If you're taught to accept that it's normal that men are superior to women and that the best thing for a woman is to be a mother and a homemaker and a wife, what happens to the women who don't want to be any of those things? They don't want to be a homemaker. They're not interested in getting married. They're not interested in being someone's wife. They're interested in having children. What happens to that person? They get targeted by society for undermining the way things are. Okay. Similarly, in a racist society, okay, if you are the wrong race, then you are confined in terms of the spaces in which you are able to seek out the fulfillment that your soul wants to experience in this human incarnation. You know, same with classism. Classism says that poor people, people on a lower LSM, are going to be treated badly or negligently by the social, political, and economic systems that exist in this world. And that people on a higher LSM and a higher class will be treated much better. And there's an experiment that someone did where a little girl is dressed in very nice clothes and she's all cute and she's got her hair done and little patent leather shoes. She just looks like a little princess, right? And she's kind of like wandering around on the streets in front of a shop, and she goes up to people, and the person doing this experiment is filming how people react to her, right? And because she looks like a little princess, she looks rich, right? The people treat her kindly, they're nice to her. And then in one instant, I think they even take her into a restaurant and buy her like some ice cream or something, because she's lost. This is the experiment, that she's a lost little girl. She's looking for her parents. So because she looks rich, they take care of her, they treat her well. And then in the other one, and then they redo the experiment, but now she's dressed like a homeless beggar child, okay? And no one wants to talk to her. They don't want her to even touch them. In the time when she's dressed like a little princess, she holds their hands, they let her hold their hand, But when she's a poor beggar child, they don't want to touch her. It's as if her poverty is gonna contaminate them, to the point where people were so hostile to her that she started crying and they had to stop the experiment because she could feel the negative energy from these people, right? Now, is that biology? Is that how humans are wired? To love the one that's wealthy and to hate the one that's poor? Or is that a cultural norm that we have adopted as society? I would think it's a cultural norm. Why? Because if you look at children, it's only when children start to identify that they are poor, that they are destitute, that they are less than other human beings, that they are different, separated from other human beings because of their race, their gender, their class, their economic situation, their physical abilities. It's only when they are made aware of those things and that they've been confronted by them in a negative way that they start to define themselves based on those things. But when they're small, they don't see themselves as anything but a child on this planet living life, And so where does it come from? I don't think it's biological, because if it was, then those divisions that we have placed between ourselves, those would be inherent to the kids, but they're not, because you see kids of all different races and LSMs, if they're in one place, and if they're properly functional kids, we know that kids who have been abused or have suffered in neutral stress will neurologically behave differently. But normal kids, they'll play with each other. They'll hang out. They'll associate with each other. That's why you have children in war zones still finding it within themselves somehow to go and play in a puddle that's been formed by a bomb crater and have fun. And I asked my daughter once when she was 3 years old, I said, what makes children happy? What is it that makes children happy? Because I see kids are able to function in the most crazy situations. And she thought about it for a second and she said, lots of food. That's all apparently children need to be happy, is food. Otherwise, let them go and they'll play. They'll find something to play with. That's why you see little kids, they'll rather play with like pots and pans than their actual toys, because the child's mind is able to experience reality in a way that's free from the cultural norms that say certain things are good and certain things are bad.